What is up, you guys? We are back with another exciting movie today. And have you ever imagined taking a test that decides whether you live or die? Yeah, me neither. The movie begins with Earth facing such a scarcity of resources that the United Nations creates a law requiring every member country to reduce its population by 5%. America, being America, decide to create their own method called the thinning. The thinning, formerly called the 10-241 test, is a standardized test given to people every year, not for a college scholarship, but for a life scholarship. In our first scene, set 24 hours before that year's test, we meet one of our protagonists, Lena, a smart and resourceful teenager who's helping her younger brother prepare for the upcoming test. Their house is filled with tension as the clock ticks down to the dreaded day. Lena's brother, Timmy, is visibly nervous, knowing that his life depends on his performance in this test. And if you imagined her giving him a tough study session, you guys are wrong, because she simply gives him a fake eye lens with a built-in camera that scans the test and feeds him the answers in real time. Pretty genius if you think about it. He realizes that using the lens is risky, but it's a risk he's willing to take to survive. She also reminds him of the importance of acting natural during the test so as to not arouse any suspicion. Meanwhile, across town, we meet our other protagonist, Blake, the son of the governor who implemented the thinning. He's a popular and privileged student, but he also has a deeply conflicted thought about the test and its consequences. Just hours before the exam, Blake was busy studying his girlfriend. They were in the middle of a steamy makeout session when one of his dad's guards interrupted them. Blake's dad, Dean, is the governor of their state, Texas. As he chats with his son after the guard brought him back to him, we understand that he isn't a fan of his son's relationship with Ellie and labels her as a distraction to his son's studies. As the fateful day of the test arrives and everyone is understandably on edge. Elena, however, is cool as a cucumber thanks to her special tool. But things don't go so well for her brother, who loses the chip from his eye after being accidentally pushed by a fellow student. Amidst the chaos, Blake finds his nervous girlfriend and gives her a reassuring hug, promising that everything will be okay. As the sun began to rise, casting an eerie glow over the prestigious school, an air of tension and anticipation filled the halls, and the students knew that day of reckoning has just arrived. But unbeknownst to them, the school was about to be placed under a strict lockdown, heightening the already palpable sense of anxiety. As the test hours approached, the school gates were locked and the security guards patrolled the perimeter, ensuring that no one could enter or leave. The students were headed into a large, sterile room where they were each handed a sleek, state-of-the-art tablet. The room was filled with a deafening silence, broken only by the sound of the instructor's voice as they announced the commencement of the exam. For 2 grueling hours, the students poured their hearts and souls into the test, their fingers flying across the screens of their tablets, beads of sweat forming on their brows. Finally, the exam came to an end and the students let out a collective sigh of relief. But their respite was short-lived as the instructors began to read out the names of those who failed. And unfortunately, amongst those who failed was Ellie, the girlfriend of Blake, and the so-called losers were rounded up and led away by the guards. Blake's heart raced with panic and desperation, and he couldn't stand idle by and watch his beloved Ellie being taken away. In a moment of sheer courage and defiance, he lunged at the guards, attempting to fight them off and rescue his girlfriend, but alas, the odds were stacked against him. Fast forward 1 year later, and it's time for the annual tests again. Blake has hit rock bottom, and his relationship with his father is on the rocks. In his room, he records a tape, vowing to protest the brutal system by intentionally failing the exam. He leaves the tape in the trash can for a later reveal, but one of his dad's guards who was tailing him finds the tape and hands it to his father. As Blake is in the test auditorium, randomly choosing answers without even reading the questions, the guards who found the tape rush back to Governor Dean, who watches the scene in horror. But wait, this guy's a politician, right? So he makes the call to the test center's chief, Mr. King, and just like that, from the back door of the test program, his son is taken out of the fail section and swapped with none other than Lena, who was in the pass section. After this little secret surgical operation was done, the test instructors start to read out the names of the students who failed the exam. And then, bingo, there's Lena's name. She was incredibly shocked as she was sitting confidently believing her chip would have done the job for her. Even her teacher couldn't believe the results, as Lena always scores the highest in the exams. As the guards take Lena with the other students who failed the exam, her teacher intervenes asking for Lena's grade to be checked, suspecting a problem with the tablet or the system. Little did they know, it's all thanks to Blake's father and his political sway. As the guards confirm the accuracy of the test results and proceed proceed to take Lena to the thinning room, the teacher hugs her and slips her some keys to help her escape if she ever manages to get a chance. While the students who failed the exam are being taken to the thinning section, Blake's dad, the mastermind behind the whole thinning mess, is giving a speech bragging about the good the test is doing to a huge crowd of fans, and he even announces that he's gonna run for president. Meanwhile, Blake sneaks in and cuts off the power supply to create chaos, hoping to reach the room where the failed students are taken. And he successfully creates said chaos, and as the rooms become dimmer, Lena sneaks out using the keys her teacher gave her, and she heads to the exit. There she meets Blake, and they join forces to clear her name. But the security team has discovered that Lena is missing, and they go all out to find her. But Lena and Blake were crawling through the ceiling's air vents, heading to the server room to find evidence of her real grades. But Blake ends up falling and landing in a pool below, and he loses consciousness and starts drowning. Lena jumps in after him and saves him. After that incident, Lena heads back to the air vents and crawls toward the server room, while Blake knocks out a guard and disguises himself in a guard's uniform to help. Lena reaches the server room but needs the chief's login details to access it. So she messages her tech-savvy friend Callan, who sends her a video of the chief's login, and after studying his finger movements, she figures out the passwords. When she sees the grades, all math laws were broken, and she's labeled as failed with a score of 98, while Blake passed with a measly 15. The governor's dirty work of swapping his son's name with Lena is now backed up by solid evidence. We also learned that Blake's girlfriend Ellie didn't actually fail the exam. She actually scored 88 but was labeled as a failure because Blake's father didn't want her around his kid. Meanwhile, as everything is functioning on backup power, the technicians are frantically working to get the power back up. And as they successfully fix the power, Mr. King checks the surveillance cameras and spots Lena's hiding place. He orders all units to converge on her location, and meanwhile, the media is going nuts as the school is still on lockdown and the pressure is mounting on Governor Dean. As Lena realizes the guards are closing in, she takes a screenshot of the grade report and sends it to Callan as a last-ditch effort to prove her innocence. Then Callan immediately sends the screenshots to the media. Blake is identified by the guards and arrested, and as both Lena and Blake are taken to the thinning room, Lena is placed in the thinning seat. The media, having received the screenshots, immediately broadcasts the news accusing the governor of illegally trying to save his son. And with questions swirling around him, the governor makes a cunning move to save himself. He orders the thinning to proceed with the correct scores, meaning his son will now be thinned. By the gesture of losing his son and pinning the grade falsification on Mr. King, the governor escapes all allegations. As the students who pass the exam leave the school and the lockdown is lifted, the thinning takes place. The guards inject some medicine into the neck of the students being thinned, but wait, they're not actually killed. They're injected with sedatives and then they are taken to an industrial area where they'll serve as slaves for the rest of their lives. It ends with Blake being taken to this industrial area and he sees his old girlfriend Ellie, who's now working in the station, and the movie ends here, leaving the rest for the sequel. Yes, there is a sequel, and if you guys want me to do it, leave me a comment in the comment section. Also, like this video, subscribe to my channel, be good to me. I love you guys so much and I promise to see you on my next recap. Bye.